Hi everyone. Something a little bit different today. You are in the Canary Room. Actually, you're in the hot seat, so this is where I edit the show. Welcome to episode 10 of the Canary Room. We've got loads in store for you today. So we've got the special on the road trip, actually, to Mike Fraha in Ireland. Mike has got the most incredible setup. The Mike setup is got some of the most incredible views I've ever seen and some very beautiful neighbours, so more of that later on. Over the next couple of weeks, we've got some real special on the road trips for you. And while I'm saying special on the road trips, massive thanks again to John Barrett and his family for hosting us and putting the Irish fancy in spotlight. Today, we will be back in the room. Despite what you might see behind you, we will be back in the Canary Room. We've got the catch up with the Fifes. We've got the Red Pole Diaries, some good news there. We'll catch up with the Norwich Notebook. Again, some good news. And we've got New Colour Corner. So all of your favourite bits. As I say, over the next couple of weeks, we've got a couple of very, very special on the road trips planned. We've been to see Russell Sykes. And Russell, champion whippet breeder and judge, and has done incredibly well in his first sort of tentative steps into canary keeping land. So it's a lovely episode, absolutely lovely episode with Russ. Really lovely guy. That will be out next Sunday, and then the Sunday after, well, you'll have seen it on Facebook. We have made our return trip to see Mr. Ferry. So we've got about, I think, 3/4 of an hour, I think it is. I've not edited it yet, so we've got about 3/4 of an hour, I think, in the room with Keith and catching up with all of his wonderful Norwich. So listen, you know what to do, everyone. Grab yourself a cuppa, sit back and enjoy the show. It kind of feels like it's been an age since we've been in the room. Obviously, we're doing the Native Diaries. Thanks to everybody who watches those and comments. Really appreciate that. But actually, the Canary Room itself is probably a month. So lots has happened in that time. Lots and lots has happened. So main bank behind me here, you can see that there are hens. There are hens feeding young. There are hens sitting on the nest. There are hens still not doing anything. I guess par for the course. But we've had a sort of relatively good flush. I've got 3 nests behind me here. There's 4 birds in this nest here. There's a heavily variegated yellow hen feeding 4. What's fascinating about that is I put a fawn cockbird over her, and she's got 3 of her own in there, and they're all white ground. So there's 2 blues, which means they will be carrier cockbirds. And there is a heavily variegated fawn, which will be a hen, because it's visually cinnamon or visually fawn. So that sort of intrigued me, really. And there's also a white in the nest. That's out of our white line, and that's fostered over there. So she seems to be doing a good job of feeding and rearing them, touch wood. And then in the nest here in cage 16, we've got a clear yellow hen who's got a couple of variegateds and a clear, it looks like, in her nest. So they all seem to be going well. And then just behind me, just out of shot, got a heavily variegated buff hen who's got a couple of variegateds in the dark. Now, this is an older buff hen. She's one of the best birds I think I've got in the shed. She's bred me some outstanding young over the years. First round with her was clear, and I persevered, and we got 3 full eggs second round. She's been a little bit hit and miss with the feeding, and so one of the things I've done, and I really sort of advocate to anyone is, you know, whatever you do in your egg mix, just put some peas on top of it. Birds seem to love peas. I put peas on top. She's gone on to the peas. She is, touch wood, she's feeding again. Now I am giving them a bit of a hand on a night. I am topping up. And we'll see a little bit more of that when we have a look at the white line later on with one of the nests that I'm helping there as well. So Fife-wise, you know, okay. I think I've rung about 30 young so far. There's another 4 or 5 in the nest to ring, and then there's a number of nests still to hatch. And so really, I got 50 rings for the Fifes this year. Be happy with that number. I suspect I have seen one or two flight feathers starting to knock out in some of the cages now. Could have just been birds getting a little bit feisty. But if flight feathers are dropped, that only means clear eggs. So we'll see. We'll see with those. We'll see how we get on. So all in all, not bad. I'm really, 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 really pleased with some of the quality of the young. So I've taken some of the first round away. I weaned 12. I did lose a cinnamon chick, but I've weaned 12. So quite happy with them. They go through various different stages. I think there's a shot here when they're first taken away. And what I've done in the last couple of days is I've just moved them. I've moved them off egg food only in the last couple of days. So I've moved them on to hard seed. They are still getting the occasional bits and bobs of egg food. And in the hoppers constantly is the mix I've got for them. So that's, I'm trying to wean them onto that, to be fair, and off the egg food, just to make it a little bit easier for me. So Five's first round, okay, not massive numbers. What I think I'm impressed with is there's a range of colours, with the exception of the dark line. The dark line's been a bit of a pain. We did hatch out a couple of dark chicks, but they didn't make it. They were launched out of nests, which, and I've been away quite a bit, which was really infuriating. So people who were looking after the birds didn't see them, didn't expect them to look, to be fair. So yeah, that's the dark line. That's the Fifes. Let's go on the road now. So let's go back over to Ireland with a little trip to a fantastic bird room with the most incredible views. It's Mike Frahar's bird room. I am absolutely indebted to Mike. I went over to see John to do an episode of The Canary Room, and John Barron, and Mike said to me, if you're over here and you fancy popping round, just give us a knock. So we went round to see Mike. Mike is in the process of redeveloping a house, which is going to be fantastic. If the bird room's anything to go by, the house is going to be absolutely incredible. The bird room itself got the same cages that I've been using in the setup in the garage. Really, really smart setup. You can see that there's some shots of it here. I didn't speak to Mike on camera, and only because I hadn't planned to do an episode with him, and I didn't think it was fair to stick a mic under his face. I'm sure had I have done, he'd have talked eloquently. He did when we were there. Really, really impressed with his setup. Really impressed with the quality of the Norwich that he got. Really super impressed with everything. As I mentioned, I think at the outset, the views from the bird room, from outside the bird room, were incredible, as were the lovely neighbours that we saw when we were there. So really enjoyed seeing them. Not sure what cattle they were, but they were nice, pretty ones anyway. And then onto the birds, some really, really strong, good quality Norwich canaries. And what was really interesting to see was the volume, and I've never seen them in that number before, but the volume of quality dark and cinnamon birds. Some really nice light birds, don't get me wrong, but some really, really nice dark birds and cinnamon birds. And of course some white ground birds as well. Now Mike had some success at the World Show with his white grounds. So the place, I cannot, whether it comes across on film or not, I don't know, but I cannot speak highly enough of the hygiene, the quality. It was a lesson to all of us of Mike's setup. Absolutely incredible. Phenomenally lovely guy. Enjoyed every minute of his company. And I look forward to going back and seeing the completed house and a little sneak at those birds as well. So that was our on the road trip for this episode. We jumped from Ireland to this week's Redpole Diaries. It's been a good year with the Redpoles so far, and we've got 3 of the pied Redpoles away. I'm going to take them away in the next couple of days now. I've seen them feeding themselves. Mum is back down on eggs. She's down on some of her eggs and some foster eggs as well. So I'm going to see how she gets on, hopefully. Not checking the eggs, I've just left them there. I think there's 7 actually, which is too many really, but we'll see how she gets on with them. The really, really pleasing thing is I've got 3 Cobalt Redpolls away now. Now, we did have 4. One was a little bit behind. Unfortunately, we lost that one. But we've got 3 that have just jumped the nest today. So they're back in the nest now, but I did manage to catch one of them having a little peek out, which was good. And then our normal pair, they are laid. Now, they've laid 4 eggs. I say they've laid 4 hesitantly. I missed the first one, and it looks like the cock had got to it. So I've been getting in early. I've been taking them out. I put pot eggs under her now. She's sat now tight on the nest. It would have been a 4th egg today. She's laid 3. Well, she's laid 4, but she's got 3. So I'm going to see how I get on with them. He was feeding her on the nest. What I don't want to do is put the eggs back in and then lose them. So I don't know whether to take him away or not. Haven't decided yet. We'll see. And then in the corner up here, I've got a shot actually of the hen on the nest. You can just about see a tail. This is the Agat split-pied hen and the pied cock. She's laid, I've taken those eggs away as well, so she's laid a 3rd today. So those birds are laying within a day of each other, which is great news. I've seen the Cobalt hen sort of picking up again, so she's going to look to go down to nest as well. Again, it looks like, which again is good news. Interestingly, I've got a little, I rung it last night, I've got a little pied redpoll, which is under a canary at the moment. Interesting nest, that, more of that later. So Redpoll Diaries, so far so good for now. So back into the fifes. Well, look, this was bound to happen, wasn't it? Regular viewers to the channel will know, over the last few years, we've been trying to build a cinnamon line with limited success. Limited, of course, code for absolutely no success whatsoever. So this year we've decided to focus on a white line. What happens? Well, it's really interesting what happens, isn't it? You start to build a white line of birds and the cinnamon line takes off. So we've got a couple of visual cinnamons now. We've got a couple of, I think, 3 fawns, 1 away, 2 still in the nest, so 5 essentially visual cinnamon birds. White line, interesting one. Last time we were here, the pair in cage 74 had just had another clear round. Now, I did say I'd leave them to it. I said I'd leave them to it, and what I wanted to make sure was that they, if I needed them, then they were on hand to rear. They were on hand, and they have reared, and they've reared 4 for me. Now, interestingly, a really interesting nest this. So there's 2 Norwich in there, which is the first 2 Norwich that I've rung. More about that later. And then the second thing in there is 2 visual cinnamon birds. So they've got to be hens because they're out of the fawn cock with a blue hen. Now, I say interesting. One is a fawn, the other is a cinnamon. So we've had a white to white pair, and we've got a cinnamon and a normal, and a fawn rather. So, and then the cinnamon cock over the green hen, I think I might have mentioned this earlier in the show, has produced 3 white ground birds. So I just can't fathom it out. In the cage next to it, cage 73, the tail marked white hen, well, we have got a young bird off her. She's again over there, little white. It looks like it could be a pure white. Not sure yet. It's still just about feathering up. And then I mentioned the interesting nest. Well, the final pair here, the pair at the end is a pair of clears. It's not the final pair. I'll come back to the 3rd pair in a second. The pair in the end there's a pair of clears. Now they've got underneath them. They've got a pied redpoll, a Norwich, and a fife. So, you know, obviously very different size birds, but they'll grow at different rates. So hopefully the pied redpoll will be okay in that nest. And then the nest here, well, I took this nest out before just to give it a little look at. It's our hen from Keith, our white hen from Keith. I bred 4 off her in the first round. Nice birds. This time she's hatched 3, and I've also put a couple of Norwich in there as well, so there's 5 in there. Now, I took the nest out before. You might just be able to see behind me here. I've got a little hook here when I'm using this to hold the nest pans when I'm bringing the young. So I've moved them over, and I've just been giving one of the young a little top up because I didn't take the eggs away, so they've hatched sort of one at a time. So that's the white line. We've got a couple. We've got a visual white on the sticks. We've got a visual variegated white fawn on the sticks. There's another white in the nest. Hopefully there'll be more whites in this nest. The pair here have laid again, although I've floated their eggs under somewhere else for now. So, so far we're okay with the white grounds. What is interesting is there's a couple of blues as well that were unexpected. They'll be cinnamon carriers. So, all in all, we should be okay. Speaking of okay, let's go on to the Norwich notebook. It's really hard not to be inspired when you spend time in the company of very passionate people on Norwich. So whether that was Mike, whether that's Keith, seeing the quality of their birds, their amazing setups, it's really hard not to be inspired. And so my sort of plans for the Norwich are gathering apace, and I've got 5 breeding hens this year. I'm going to look to increase that, almost double it to 9 next year. That's the plan. I've already made a couple of requests, so hopefully that'll come in, and I'm looking to obviously breed my own as well, so fingers crossed for that. Well, speaking of fingers crossed, we've got an okay-ish start on the Norwich. So we've got 2 now which are feathered, by no means a given. They see them a little bit picking up, but not hugely picking up. One of the things that I've been doing with the young birds here is if a hen isn't feeding, I've been putting peas in. I think I may have mentioned that, peas and sweet corn. And we can see the white hen, the variegated yellow hen as part of the white pair, picking them up and feeding, and then a Norwich just pecking away at the egg food. Not feeding at all by its own merit yet, so won't be anywhere thinking about going away for another 7 days or so. When I'm absolutely confident. I've got another 3 young Norwich in the nest. I haven't rung them yet. They're various different ages. So that's 3. I've got young out of 3 of the hens so far. The pairs behind me are both on eggs. They are on their own eggs at the moment. I have candled them. They are all full. And I'll either sort of let them rear, or what I'll most likely do is find a foster pair to put them under. Some of the foster pairs this year have let me down, I will say. So at the moment, I let them sit because the fifes really that I've got are not fifes that I trust. I have got a fife on. In fact, I've got a couple of fifes on Norwich eggs at the moment, and they seem to be sitting them okay, but sitting them's one thing, rearing's them is another. And when it comes to rearing, let's have a look now at an absolutely incredible bird, worth a weight in gold in the room. It's time for New Colour Corner. The new colours this year, the grey wings, have been very much the mixed bag, and I think it's important that I'm candid with you about that. I lost one of the younger hens on the nest the other day. It looks like she tried to pass an egg and couldn't, and I came in and she was dead on the nest. So what I've done there is I've put one of the sort of mongrel feeder hens in with the cock to try and breed a new line of feeder birds for next year, and they could be quite interesting as well for muling purposes. I have, however, got 1 pair of grey wings which have absolutely done an incredible job. First round they reared 3, 2 of their own and 1 other, which is good because they need a bit of genetic diversity to move forward. And second round, they've reared 6. Now, I put a picture on Facebook. You can see it here of all 6 in the nest. 5 grey wings and a fife. And they've done an absolute sterling job. She's back down now on 5 eggs. The young are still in there, though. They're not picking up yet. So I'm not 100% sure. What I might do with her is switch those grey wing eggs out for one of the dark fifes that I want to make sure I get young out of. I may even put Norwich eggs under her. She's certainly good enough to take Norwich eggs. So we'll see. We'll see with what happens with that. But that's really the only sort of shining light in what's been quite a difficult year with the grey wings this year, which is surprising. So I love them in their own right, but they are here predominantly as a feeder bird. So as I mentioned earlier on, I'm going to look at increasing the number of Norwich pairs I retain for next year. So I've got currently 5 breeding hens. I am looking at moving that up to 9 next year. So 3 more pairs of Norwich in. So I'm going to need something to help me with the Norwich. Stay tuned, everyone. See how that develops. Well, listen, that's all we've got time for today. If you've enjoyed the show, hit a like, hit the notification bell, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please think about subscribing. Until next time, everyone, there's lots to look forward to. Take care.